Pediatrics is one of the best specialities that is there, because you are not talking to patients, you are not talking to clients, you are having a wonderful time talking to children. And your main job as a, and that is the job qualification, is to make them smile, to give them care. So it's really wonderful to get onto a panel where I have such beautiful people who have this very envious job of talking to human beings, and human beings which we help evolve, with whom we learn how our society is going to get shaped. And the only reason we do that is so that when we grow old in this society, we'll have people who will look after us. So, that is, having said that, let me first introduce my panel and also tell you about how we have structured this session, because what we wanted was to give to our participants a little bit about what is going to be there in our standards of care. And the pediatric section is talking about uh, growing with the child through this journey of diversity. So we have Dr. Sanjeev, who is, apart from being a very dear friend, is also the president of the IAP chapter of UP. And apart from that long list that you can see on the screen, Sanjeev has his heart in the right place. So Sanjeev is going to be speaking about how the what pediatricians need to know, how the pediatricians should move in this journey along with the child and take them on to be productive citizens. I also have in this session uh, Dr. IPS Kocher. Dr. Kocher is a very senior pediatrician, and he is a super specialist. He's done pediatric endocrinology, and he's the man who has that knowledge of introducing and changing the way bodies develop, introducing hormones, introducing other drugs which would be required if the child wants it. And we also want to know that what is the international perspective. Hence, we have managed to pull Dr. Nandita Kher from her busy schedule and speak to us about her experience in the UK, and tell us how this subject of transgender health is handled in across the seas. So, participants, we are ready for a very interesting 1 hour, and we have broken this up into two parts. The first part, I'm going to invite Sanjeev to speak for about 10 minutes, and followed by Dr. Kocher. He will give us the perspective on puberty blockers, and then subsequently I will move on to Nandita to ask her about what her experience has been from across the seas. So, inviting you, Sanjeev, the floor is yours. Uh, Kindly tell us what you want the pediatricians here to do if they see a child with gender incongruence brought to the clinic. Over to you.
Thank you, Sanjay. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. Should I share my screen?
Yes, please share your screen.
So the topic allotted to me is the practical guidelines approach to a child with gender incongruence. So, so my talk is divided into these five parts. First, the introduction. What is the current situation and the challenges we face? The role of pediatrician, and where do we want to go and how to reach there. So, what is gender identity? A person's innermost concept of self as male, female, a blend of both or neither. One's gender identity may be the same or different from their sex assigned at birth. And what is gender incongruence? So, when the child's self affirmed identity does not match with the assigned sex. So, the distress starts when the people around don't agree with the narrative of the child. This is the most important. It's in the perception of the caregiver. So, where we stand, what are the challenges we faced? It's the fact that we generally equate gender with sex, and we consider gender incongruence a disease or a psychiatric mental disorder. And although the reality is that it is now largely viewed as part of the natural spectrum of human diversity, and it's not a mental disorder. And sex is what the body says, and the gender is what the mind says. So, so the pediatricians have a major role to play. They need to take the charge of the case. They are the owner of the case, and they need to adopt, and that they need to understand the development is different for each child. And first the gender identity comes, then the sexual orientation comes, and there is fluidity in gender identity. It's a fluid thing, and this is part of a psychosocial development. These children may have two types of stress. There is internal distress inherent to the incongruence between the sex assigned at birth and the gender identity. This we may call gender dysphoria. And there is a distress associated with social stigma, social bullying, etc. So there are certain red flags which we have to understand, which have to go through. There is when there is sudden change in behavior of the child, there is deteriorating scholastic performance, and if there are suicidal tendencies and or self harm is there. So this is very important. Now we come to the clinic. In the clinics, we have to recognize them early, and there is individualized care. This is very important. We cannot mix the care given to one child with the other, and we should not interfere. We should calmly listen and note down everything in the history. Suppose in a case with toddler to 5 years of age, if the child comes, we see what is the dress preference, what are the play preference, what is the language he tries to prefer, he tries to speak, and we should let the child explore the environment. We should provide space for the gender expression. This is very important for the. So coming to the next, we know that the dysphoria increases when the body changes begin. So tenor, knowing about the tenor staging is very important for the pediatricians. We should all go through this sexual development. Coming to the 5 to 10 years of age, look for the body changes, look for the school behavior. We should involve the parents. We should provide tools for the gender education for the parents, which are given in ATHI, ATHI, and WPATH, etc. Now, coming to the 10 to 15 years of age, the history of the children give the history of feeling different. They give the history of they are not fitting in the environment. There is peer ostracism. There is isolation in the society. there is non-acceptance with the peer groups, and they feel very low self-esteem. So we should explore the sexuality and the gender identity in these cases. And the most important thing is we should give affirmative participative approach, and this is very important teamwork. So we should, in the history they usually give that the style of passing urine, there's clothing, etc. The style of hair in these cases is different. So in these cases we go for the hormone therapy, and we should always consult a pediatric endocrinologist. And the hormone therapy we give with the affirmative participative approach. There's a teamwork. This team involves the parents, the pediatrician, pediatric endocrinologist, mental health people, ethical committee, and the school people. So this is a team, and we should all understand that we should not go individually, single-handedly. It's a teamwork. Then only we can achieve success. And the child is to be taken into confidence, and he should be told about the implications of the treatment and the reversibility. We should tell the child and the parents that the situation is reversible. This is very important. And in a child with 15 years plus age group, if the child is behaving differently, or goes in a closet, or if the self-harm tendencies are there, suicidal tendencies are there, it means the dysphoria has increased, and we should involve the gender affirmation team. This is one of the red flags. So we should help the gender incongruent child to pass, and we should, the one who looks different is affected by violence. These children are generally affected by the violence. So we should allow them to speak. We should allow them to pass through this phase, and we should not let these children to be affected by the violence. This is very important. So all the pediatricians must be aware about the surgical procedures. If they are not life-threatening, they should not be encouraged. Suppose there is a micropenis, suppose there is any small defect, hypospadias there, we should not be worried. It's not an emergency, but there are certain emergency things which we should go for. And what the sexual identification things children are using these days, we should all know. We all pediatricians should be aware about this, all be aware about the legal issues. We should always be aware about the protection of rights of these children. We should all have the resources which are given by ATHI in WPATH, etc. If any intervention starts, think of, and we should all flag the fertility issues with the parents. And the voice modulation therapy, we should all be knowing about this, feminization and masculinization surgeries. We should encourage the gender-friendly hospitals. This is very important. And educating the whole family and the public health approach is very important. And we should all have the training in the MBBS and our curriculum. In Nelson, we have got a small chapter of 2 or 3 pages, but we should all have this in the curriculum. Thank you very, very much.